Good evening, race fans. Actually, it's a good afternoon, race fans, at Boone Speedway for the Boone Super Nationals. I'm Dan Taylor, and a bit of a special edition Slingin Dirt with, again, myself, Dan Taylor, and my buddy Ray.
The legend and the myth.
The three-time DQ'd. Rolled through tech inspection on Sunday and had a couple of things to work on, but got them fixed and got out there.
Yeah, we had guys, make sure your fuel cell flappers, if you got the rubber flapper, make sure it's intact, because I got dinged for that. Make sure your rear wells are 2 inches, and make sure your spoiler is 5-inch material height. Nothing major, but it's all fixed and the car's running good.
And I'm surprised that that whole thing you did with the engine, they didn't catch that.
Really?
Should I have said that in front of our guest?
No.
Joined by Tom Gutowski of IMCA. Tom, it's your second time on the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, glad to be here. Buddy Ray.
Of course I'm kidding about the whole engine thing.
Well, hopefully we'll get to find out if Buddy makes the tent.
I would love to make the tent, but I don't know if I can now that you kind of put my secret out there.
Yeah, it's a big secret. You were talking about how you were getting around it when we were going through the line. That was kind of interesting.
Wow.
Very interesting experience I've had up here so far at the Boone Super Nationals, and kind of walking around and seeing everybody. A couple of familiar faces, quite a few non-familiar faces. But I wanted to talk with Tom a little bit. This year's IMCA Super Nationals at Boone Speedway. What are some things you guys are focusing on for the 2013 Super Nationals?
Well, I think there's no single focus. We look at the whole car. It's our chance to look at what's going on in the rest of the country, because everybody, all the regions are well represented in all the divisions. So that's why we don't talk rules really until after the Super Nationals. Things that we have talked about beforehand, it gives us a chance to survey what's going on out there, if there's something we need to stop, a new trend, a new part,
that gray area that people love to find?
Yeah, there was a problem with some shocks on a hobby stock, and it was a brand new thing, and, we made them take them off.
So how do you handle that? Because one goes through, do you let him go through but remember that car, and then after the second and third one go through, you say, okay, we need to not let these guys do it?
No, usually when we know we don't want something, we catch it right away.
Yeah.
It's not going to go. We have the best inspectors in IMCA, mainly around the Midwest, from Wisconsin and Kansas.
I found this out.
Yeah, they're good guys. All of them have been here 12, 13, 14 years, longer than I've been here. This is my 7th year now as competition director, but they're all very knowledgeable, very sharp guys. Especially, we're all a little rusty in the spring after you've laid off a little bit, but now after a full, 7, 8, 9 months of teching cars, why you get into a rhythm of what you look for, and
one of the things I've been asking and talking to a lot of drivers. This is my second year competing. Do you think, as you used to drive cars way back in the day, do you think the Super Nationals is an event where it's luck of the draw, or is it really just how good you are, or a combination of the both?
It's like any big event. You've got to have it all going for you. Very rarely with the level of competition that's here can you have bad draw after bad draw and get to the front. It's just, you just run out of time, and the competition is so tough. There's not a lot of slouches here.
With over 750, 800 races this week scheduled, we've already watched the Sport Mod run. They put on a hell of a show. Now here it is going into Tuesday, Wednesday. We got the Race of Champions coming up. Is there any one particular race that kind of, you get more excited about watch? I mean, everybody gets to see the big show on Saturday. My favorite, the A-Mods, the Race of Champions. Man, that's an awesome feature. I mean, that to me is where it showcases you're the best of the best.
Yeah. Well, it would be okay if we had A-Mods, but IMCA doesn't have A-Mods or B-Mods. We have modifieds and sport mods.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the modifieds. The one thing we've all heard about Jesse Sobbing this year coming up. He's done an amazing job. Rookie of the year. He's running for a national title. With that being said, do you think a true judgment of his driving and his ability in the mods, even though it's already been set, we're going to see just what he's made of when it comes to that race of champions?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about his ability or his talent or dedication.
Oh, God, no dedication. Wow.
I mean, and the guy he races 90 times a year. Buddy Ray, how many times you raced last year?
About 10. No, I actually got in about 25, 30.
25 or 30.
So he's racing
so
in
he's
1 year
close.
What I do in 3 years.
Yeah. And for other people, they don't race as much as you did.
Oh,
you know, they're 16, 17, maybe 20 at times, and he's out there running Well, he's got all that experience, all that seat time.
Yeah, you can't buy that.
No, you can't. You just got to go do it and get it.
You can't get good at something by doing it just once a week.
Right.
You got to do it 2, 3, even 4 times a week.
Right.
Since we're talking about Jesse Sobbing, we were obviously chasing down a little bit of a story that happened Saturday night at Shelby County Speedway, and something that's kind of our local area where we cover a lot of the dirt track action. It's been a bit of a story, but Jesse came into the pits and was having, I believe, correcting a flat tire. Was that correct? Repairing a flat tire? Because you were actually there that night.
I was there, but I was sitting I was up on the deck.
Okay.
In the middle of the infield, so I couldn't see what was going on right in front of the scoring tower that's on the infield. But
so he comes in to get some work done on his front tire, and I talked to a couple of people, but inevitably the rule is 4 over the wall maximum.
Harlan's rule has been that way ever since I constructed a pit road there 15 or whatever many years ago it's been.
And
it's kind of a narrow pit road. Mm-hmm. But what we didn't want was 10 people jumping over and a big wreck, 10 car or 5 cars get tangled up, and then have them trying to speed in and out and having all them bodies out there.
Yeah.
So there's 4 tires on a car. 4 guys is plenty. And if they got that much damage, it's probably not going to do any good.
Head into the pits.
Yeah.
So,
but it's always been 4 people, no fluids. That's just been the rule ever since I was the promoter, and they've kept that rule.
And it's
served them well because nobody's been injured out there. Nobody's gotten run over by, somebody or a car out of control, lost his brakes or anything like that.
And it's important to point out that rule is a track rule.
That's a track rule.
IMCA follows the track rule. So it could vary from track to track. As a driver, you got to figure that rule out.
Right. Some make you go to your pits. Others have a work area, a general work area. Some of them are big. Some of them are small. It's, different flavor for everybody. But Harlan, they called down to him when there were 6 people working on the car, physically working there, not just 6 people standing around. There were 6 people working on the race car. They yelled down to him 4 and gave him a chance to back 2 off, and they ignored him and kept going with 6. He was not disqualified. He was black flagged.
Right. That was kind of also the confusion.
Yeah.
At least I had it because they posted, Jesse Sobbing Racing posted on their Facebook page that we finished 24th, but then we were DQ'd. And then later on down the timeline, you were talking about it, they came back and said, no, we didn't get DQ'd. We finished 24th. So that is detrimental to Jesse because that's one less night, and we're down to, he's got one more chance to win this national championship.
Correct.
So,
if in fact it ends up being between him and William Gould.
Right.
But Keith Price entered the picture now.
Well, I think Keith is out of nights. I don't keep up on this. There's just too much for me to do to do that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I've gotten some calls from a sponsor of Jesse's who used to race at my track and all that, and is sponsoring Jesse. And we had problems with our website and all that. So I just tried to, but I don't know who was I thought. Another gentleman, Jim Stannard, told me yesterday that he thought Keith was out of nights, just like William Gould is out of nights.
Right.
They can't improve their point total. But if you remember a couple years ago, everybody thought it was between David Murray and Keith White, and out of nowhere came Zane DeVilbiss. Well, who's sitting in fourth? Zane DeVilbiss. And I understand, don't know it for a fact, that he has maybe 6 or 7 nights left.
Wow.
So, you know, that may or may not be true. I don't know.
Has IMCA...
But it's not over till it's over, I guess is my point.
Have you noticed that with IMCA, with the modifieds, when it comes to the national points, it seems like year after year, it gets closer and closer and closer. I don't remember the point battle being this close ever in the history of IMCA.
Well, the point system...
Or in the history that I've been watching the modifieds.
But the point system has evolved over time, and I think it's about as good as you can get. I mean, it rewards a guy that races against a lot of cars, but it doesn't reward him to the point where an average weekly racetrack couldn't be right there. You know, there are some tracks in IMCA that draw 35, 36, almost 40 miles a night. You go up North Dakota, look at Nodak and Minot, and look at their average car count. Wisconsin used to be huge.
Oh, yeah.
And our own Eagle Raceway in Nebraska there is right there.
You know, funny thing you mentioned Eagle Raceway. I remember back in '94, instead of walking down my high school graduation aisle, you were actually there, and I showed up in a Friday night flyer back in the day, and you looked at me and you're like, my God, somebody read the rule book.
Yeah.
My dad and I saw Tom walking up, we're like, oh God, here comes the sheriff. I'm like, what did we do wrong? And then you invited me over to Harlan, and that might have been the first year you had that pit road there when I showed up at Harlan that year.
I opened Harlan in '91, and I think it could have been when I finally got the concrete barriers and everything.
That kind of leads up to my next question. You are a mainstay, you are a staple of IMCA racing. IMCA racing, Tom Gutowski, you can't have one without the other. With that being said, do you have a lot of satisfaction when you're watching, you know, these 40-year-old guys like I that started when we were kids, and you're like, wow, these guys are still with us?
Oh, yeah. It's I'm amazed, and there was a time when I first started promoting that I couldn't be IMCA, like at Denison.
Right.
Because Audubon was open then, and the pit gate was 46 miles to their pit gate, and IMCA had a 50-mile rule at the time.
They don't have that now, do they?
No, they don't. It's on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
Where it makes sense. But we always consider those that have brung us to the dance, so to speak, and, you know, we're not going to, somebody that's been with us, you know, for years or 5 or 10 or 50, you know, we have a lot of tracks now that are approaching 20 and 30 years of being sanctioned with IMCA, and it gets bigger every year.
You know, I was looking at another sanctioning body's national points in their division, and I'm sitting here. Here's what I love about IMCA, Dan. I can go to Bakersfield, California. I can go to Wisconsin, Minot, South Carolina. I can go anywhere I want in the nation. As a sport mod driver, I don't have to question the rules, and I don't have to question the kind of car, the ability of drivers. It's as bad as equal can get. But I'm looking at another sanctioning body, and they've got an asphalt sportsman being scored against a dirt modified driver. I'm like, how does that work? I go, you're two totally different cars, two totally different styles of driving, you know, and to each their own. And I'm sure they'd have their case, but I'm like, to me, this is where IMCA shines, because you have about as fair competition. I mean, you look around in these pits right here at the Super Nationals, and you don't have to second guess what cars and what class. You can, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's the fair scoring and the best system I know for racing.
Talking with Tom Gutowski, competition director for IMCA. I wanted to I know we're kind of backtracking here a little bit. I didn't get a chance to ask you. If there is an appeals process for Jesse's ruling on Saturday night, can you take us through that process as far as who they would give it to and then the appeals process?
Well, there's nothing to appeal in this case, so we wouldn't even accept an appeal.
Okay.
There's nothing to appeal. Track made a call. It's been their regular call. They didn't do anything unusual. It's their track rule. And it says right in your general rules, if you read them, the track rules do take precedence in some cases.
So would he be able to appeal to the track, or is this pretty much a moot point?
It's
done.
It's done.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
I've learned over the years that when the track makes their call, you're literally just blowing a lot of hot air because when they make their point, they've made their point.
Well, I was there. This was all cleaned up before I left the racetrack. Everybody, Jesse knew, the sponsor knew, the racetrack knew.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of the report's probably already been emailed to the home office or faxed, and we'll be there on Monday. I mean, we know.
Right.
Cell phones are a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
In some ways.
In some ways. In some ways.
2013's far from over. We got a lot of dirt track action still to go, but as you're moving through 2013 and you guys are getting through the season, are you making mental notes of things that you'd like to change rulebook-wise or procedurally for 2014?
Believe it or not, before our rules were even actually printed for us, I had already started on this year's. And some of that is clerical.
Yeah.
You know, we all proofread the rules.
And I just want to make it clear, I'm not going to ask because he ain't going to tell me. So, guys, drivers, don't even ask me why I didn't ask.
There's no reason calling, emailing, or anything. And that's this time of the year, we always get that thing. And I try to be polite and say, you know, I really, there's nothing I can tell you.
Right.
We talk about a lot of things. Right now, I probably have 3 pages full of notes, but that's 7 or 8 classes. And some of it's clerical. Some of it's just stuff that a racer may email us or call, and Brett will email me and say, hey, put this in the notes. And so I keep the notes for everybody. That way I can compile them, and then I categorize them and put them in a logical order to the rule book, and we start up on page 1, and that's the only way we can do it and not take a month. You know, we don't have time. We're so busy.
I found that out with Brett Rudd today.
There is no dead time. When you think that our last race this year is going to be, the 9th, 10th November, and it's just 2 short weeks when our banquet. Then we got PRI show. You know,
it don't stop for you guys.
It really literally does not. The IMCA, thankfully, they shut the office down.
They got to give you guys a break sometime.
Yeah. You know, and it's shut down between Christmas and New Year's. But I answer my phone.
I know you answer your phone, and I know you will call the drivers back, because I've gotten those phone calls in the last few years going, Bud, what in the hell are you thinking?
I'm pretty proud of, IMCA in general, and myself in particular. I always return phone calls, always answer emails.
I was just getting ready to say that.
It might not be right away. I'm the most accessible competition director I'm sure they've ever had, just because of the fact of cell phones, the ability to, take a picture of it and send it to me. You know, and I can look right then and there and tell what he's doing.
The one,
and,
that's interesting.
Time.
It's interesting you brought that up, because I believe we had that situation at Crawford County one week when a driver in the late models didn't have a front left brake rotor, and they were contesting it, and so I think you said, send me a picture. So they sent a picture, and you said, that's illegal.
Yeah. We do that way. The integrity of our crate engine program is solidified because of the ability of our inspectors to take high-definition pictures and send them to us. And then I have my team, and they all have cell phones, and all those pictures are texted to them, and within 15 minutes we can tell whether those are, high percentage that they're fake.
That's the one thing I appreciate a lot about IMC, whether it be you or Brett Rudd or Kevin Yoder, Virginia Lindsay. I love Virginia Lindsay. She's so nice.
She's a sweetheart.
Oh, she is.
Virginia never has a bad day.
No, and she gave me a double fist bump in the pre-tech line. She goes, Buddy Ray. And when she doesn't see a guy like me for a whole year, and I show up out of the blue, and she's giving me fist bump, and she remembers me, she's got 800-900 drivers up here. That speaks a lot. But
and she really appreciated that $50 you slipped in her pocket.
yeah, that's what it was.
In case you haven't noticed, it's my goal to get you in trouble this week.
Well, just keep that credit card stuck in your pocket. So, with that being said, I was going to say, IMCA, you've always been straightforward. You don't BS. You don't waste no one's time. You tell it how it is. But you guys are always quick to answer phone calls, get people back, and that's what I love is the open door policy with IMCA.
What's what are you guys in the future for you guys? I know that one thing I'd like to actually ask you guys is that, and you may not have the word for this, but this year for Crawford County, all divisions were sanctioned except for late models. Do you know if they've applied for late model sanctioning, or if they're going to wait on that and the late models not be sanctioned again?
That's a real easy question for me to answer because that's not my that's not my job.
So you're saying I'm going to have to ask one of the guys at CCS?
Well, right. Or IMCA. Jim Stannard would probably be the one that's most accessible to you that would know exactly what's going on all across the country.
Yeah.
We have 141 racetracks, keep growing, and membership is growing, our licensed drivers are growing. And it always has in the 7 years that I've been there. Mm-hmm. But especially the last 3 or 4 years, it's really blossoming again. And I can safely say we are the largest weekly sanctioning body in the United States for dirt track racing.
You know IMCA is the oldest?
Yes, I did know that.
What year?
Luke Cochran told me that 49?
Older.
44?
Older. I think I have the right answer for this. 1915.
Correct.
Wow, Luke Cochran told me it was in the 1940s, because I remember it would have been just after World War II, but...
That's when Luke was born.
Oh.
I thought Luke Cochran and Fred Flintstone were cousins. I thought
that would be me.
I thought, well, you had the Flintstone cousins.
I'm the uncle.
I thought Luke Cochran came up with roofing, because he was working on Fred's house one night, slate shingles and...
Well, we're talking with Tom Gutowski. Bud, is there anything else we need to cover?
Yeah, this is really cool. So not only is the IMCA Super Nationals the biggest event, I think, in racing overall, versus any of the other sanctioning bodies, but I thought this was really cool. I think is a Baker or Oceanside, California, $15,003 to win modified race.
Yep.
Is that the biggest race IMCA has ever had for the modifieds?
I think it's the biggest sanctioned winner's purse, but I may be wrong.
Maybe wrong.
I may be wrong.
You think you'll see some Midwest boys heading out for a race like that?
I'm sure there might be some. But I don't know. It's the week of the Tiny Lund.
Oh, that's a good point.
So...
Now, what's their car counts out there in California?
I really haven't had a chance to look.
Are you going to that race or are you going to the Lund?
Actually, Dave's going to that, and I'm going to the Lund.
Wow. I figured you'd be going to the big show out in California. But, like I said, IMCA, Tom Gutowski, IMCA Eagle, or Tom Eagle,
Tiny Lund is my baby. I created that. So.
Yeah, you have to be there for that one.
Well, I would like to. If they need me somewhere else, that's where I'll go.
So what can I do and not do at the Tiny Lund? Can you tell me now?
Just behave.
Oh, okay. No, it's a fun time.
You could win, but don't jump on me.
I remember doing that at Eagle. I about broke you in half.
Your first win.
Yeah.
Just one procedure. It's one kind of off the wall question I was wanting to ask, and it's been something that has been probably one of my biggest irritations as far as dirt track drivers. But I don't have a good answer for how to fix this. But you've been doing this a lot longer. Maybe you've got a good solution for it. But drivers that purposely bring out the caution on feature laps that they spin on their own, and then they sit there and wait for the caution to come out and take off. I don't know if I guess I don't know if it's a good question for you, but have you found any way of curtailing that a little bit?
You can take it into your own hands, and I think in my general rules, if you intentionally bring out a yellow, you'd be black flag.
Yeah.
So
I've noticed.
Then that makes it a judgment call on the race director and/or promoter. And I always like clean rules, So that's why we had pit road.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, a lot of tracks won't let the officials touch the car. And I was one of them. I didn't want my officials ripping fenders off and all the rest of it. If you were in the wreck, we want to officiate and have as little to do with the outcome of this thing.
Yeah.
So I don't want, if your quarter panel was loose and not fastened properly and got bumped and, just folded up under your tire and going to cut it, that's racing. And there's a pit road there. I put in electrical, so they had impact, they could do anything they wanted there, no fluids, 4 people.
Yeah.
That was the rule.
I've noticed that some tracks are better about that. You go there and you watch them race, and it doesn't seem like a single driver does that. And maybe it's just a one-night occurrence to where I got lucky and nobody ever did that. But then there's some tracks that you go to that it's just like, okay, at some point in time, somebody's going to get shot. Because the fans are tired of these cautions. We want to get done with the nights.
Oh, yeah. Well, there are nights, and they're usually a full moon. In my career as a promoter, I dreaded full moon nights. Very rarely did they ever go smoothly.
Last year in 2012, I believe IMCA saw a record car count for the Super Nationals. Are we headed that way, you think, for 2013?
I think by the pre-registrations, and I think that's been on Facebook. I don't do Facebook, by the way, so...
Do you have a phone that has Facebook?
Do I what?
Have a phone that has a Facebook? I'm just making...
I've got the app and all that, but I don't do it.
Oh, okay. I can just imagine Tom's Facebook blowing up with racers.
I have too much to do to mess around with Facebook.
How's your IT?
If it's an important question, they've got my phone number. It's plastered all over the world. They've got my email. They can pick it up and call me.
How's your IT team doing this week? They finally get a break?
I think they created a temporary website.
Yeah, I was on it, was it last night or the night before, and it's not the fanciest, but it gets the job done.
It gets the job done. And you know what? Sometimes simple is good. Keep
Simplicity gets it done.
It's not the fastest, nicest race car that wins the race all the time.
There
it's the guy that gets it done.
There you go.
That gets it done.
Tom Gutowski, Competition Director for IMCA. We always do appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you both.
Good
luck, Buddy Ray.
This has been Slingin' Dirt with Dan Taylor and Buddy Ray. Buddy, say goodnight.
Good night, good afternoon, good night, good morning. I don't even know what time it is anymore here.
It depends on when you get to listen to it.
We're on Boone time here.
Which reminds me, why are we still sober?
That's a good point. I mean, I actually saw a guy on a Razor driving by drinking a big bottle of Dr. McGillicuddy's. I was like, man, that sounds good.
All right, well, we're going to get back to tugging on a little alcohol. Thanks so much for listening. We appreciate it. We'll do it again soon. This has been Slingin' Dirt, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.